Not too long ago, Treyarch released the Black Ops 6 Zombies gameplay trailer to the world, and there's a lot to discuss. The number one thing on a lot of people's minds is this game going to live up to the hype? Well, today, my guest Shreebington and I discuss just that as we go through what he expects from the game mode from a narrative standpoint, a gameplay standpoint, and much, much more. Well, Shreebington, it is an honor to have you here on the podcast. I really appreciate your time. Super big fan of your content. I know we were just talking a little bit before pre-show about everything that you do behind the scenes. It's absolutely crazy. Like all the work you do that goes into your videos. It's super cool. But we're going to save that clip for possibly a members only segment. But so today we're actually going to talk about everything that's been going on inside of the Black Ops 6 ethos, the zombies community at large, discussing what we have seen inside of BO6 from the trailer, the gameplay reveal. And I first want to talk to Shreeb and just ask you, what excites you most about BO6 Zombies? I think that's a good place to start, and then we can kind of intertwine that in those pre-show questions that I asked you beforehand. So why don't you start us off?
I think probably the thing that excites me the most is the dedicated crew and how that's being tied into the story, because that was one of my major gripes about Cold War was, although they did have like dedicated characters that were part of the story, it felt a lot less like you weren't in the shoes of the people going through the story, because a lot of it was through the dialogue and the phone calls, the radio calls. So having the crew playable with like a set goal, I think that's what excites me the most.
Well, I have a little bit of a follow-up because I've actually been chewing on this crew concept for a while. Because I really do go back and forth, and I understand what you're saying. Okay, like I do. But I try to boil down gameplay mechanics to like their essence of what they are. And it's like really the difference between Cold War and Black Ops 3, let's just use that as an example, or even 4, whatever, just any previous game. The difference is like the voice recording just happened to match the player's character model. Like that's really what it is. And I get the concept of like, okay, well, when the player is playing it, they can actually visualize themselves as the character, and they're looking from their point of view, and then the words and the perspective that they're speaking, it makes it feel like it's really happening. And I do get that, I do. But as long as there's good dialogue written and it's a good story to support the great dialogue and things are developing in the Easter egg and the narrative, does having a crew really matter? What do you think about that?
I would say that it does, because I think that the idea that it's like a set group of 4 people going through the maps, one after another, like I think that it can strengthen the bond between the characters, and I feel like that kind of like helps develop the story and like their goal, and especially with like with this new character, and I can't even think of what her name is. The one that's looking for her brother. Yeah, I feel like that, especially with like a set crew with a set goal of finding Richthofen, finding her brother. I think that if like the next map the people were different, it would kind of disrupt like the continued like, oh, we need to go find this guy, or like something may happen where maybe he's dead or something, and now she's grieving, and like having like the people from the first map kind of continually be with her. And like I feel like not only just the dialogue, because like obviously the dialogue would be better if it was like connected to like they talk about the last map, or they talk about where they're going the next time. But I think just like the story in general feels better, like outside of the game, just thinking about the story or watching videos about the story, or even just reading about the story. I feel like having like a set crew that goes through it together and like experiences it together would strengthen, the characters themselves and help expand on the characters like it did in BO3 and BO4 even. And really just all the Black Ops games, as opposed to like playing through Cold War, where although there is like dialogue relating to the story, it's like going through the maps, you could be whoever. So it's not like they're going through it together and like bonding through their shared experience.
Sure. And so you're saying that because it's not coming from the first person's point of view, we're getting it from a third person's perspective, like in Cold War. We're hearing a bond that's happening outside of us. And you think that okay, go ahead.
No, I agree with what you said.
Well, so again, so just one more pushback. I like to just push back. That's just kind of how my brain works. Not that you're saying anything that I ultimately disagree with. I just like to chew on these ideas. But there was a couple lines like within Cold War that actually, well, there's one that always comes to mind. It's in Forsaken, as you're actually opening up the map in the beginning. Weaver is talking to, what is it, Kravchenko, I think is the guy's name. And they're talking about like his eye, taking out his eye. And it was like such a badass line. And it kind of showed me like, okay, as long as the dialogue is impactful and the story is good, I think there could be a case where a crew might not be necessary. And then I was thinking again, so going back to BO6, the Dark Aether story doesn't really do it for me. I don't hate it. It's not the end of the world or anything. I think it's okay. But I'm hoping that there's some real stakes. And I'm worried, though, if the story is kind of lukewarm and Treyarch doesn't take big chances and take risks, that having a crew, if the dialogue isn't written well and the story isn't written well, I don't know how much it's going to matter. And that's something that I find to be a bit concerning.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, I think one of the reasons why I think the set crew is something that I lean more towards is because, like, when I think about like the zombies and like the zombies crew and their experiences, like one of the reasons why I don't like the Cold War dialogue system is that like it kind of connects to the exfil thing. Like, I feel like zombies feels much more immersive when you feel like it's just you and the people that are around you. Like it's just you and the zombies, and you're talking to the people that are around you. You're helping each other. You're reviving each other. You're like sharing ammo, sharing guns and stuff. And it's you guys and the zombies. Like, having an outside group that you're kind of like relaying to, I feel like majorly like lowers the stakes, or at least lowers like the feeling of like being alone with the zombies. And so I think that like having a set crew, even though in this game they will still have like the radio system, I feel like having a set crew will probably increase the just like interpersonal like physical dialogue between the four people that are together. And I feel like that dialogue to me is a lot different than someone just talking to a radio, regardless of how good or bad the dialogue is. I think just the way that it's presented, the people actually being together, makes it a lot different.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I really like that a lot. And it kind of ties into this concept of Black Ops 6 being, don't trust the system. And and even in the campaign, it's about, those Black Ops or not operators, the Black Ops characters. I can't think of what I'm trying to say, but the Black Ops operatives that are like going rogue, going behind the scenes to figure out like what the government has done to them. And it's kind of similar in a way with zombies where Richtofen betrayed everybody. So it's a very similar concept, that element of betrayal. And our crew is like in prison. They break out, thankfully for Peck. And now they're kind of going rogue, and they probably have limited resources, and they probably don't know who they can trust. So it actually does tie in with the theme quite nicely. And although we might still have some of those resources like a helicopter or whatever, we still don't have the system to back us up, which really strengthens your point that you just made right there about feeling feeling that element of isolation. So I kind of want to go to the next part of the question here, which is, so we've seen like Terminus and we've seen a bit of Liberty Falls, and the first two questions that I ask in the pre-show questions are, what's your favorite Zombies rendition and what's your favorite Zombies map? And you said Black Ops 3 Shadows of Evil, which I think is a fantastic answer. I love Shadows of Evil, love Black Ops 3. But I'm wondering, how do you think experiencing something like Shadows of Evil, which was, I mean, we all know it's like an epic adventure, so monumental on so many fronts. Do you think that Terminus is going to be a map that can live up to that? Do you think it's going in a different direction? How do you think BO6 is going to compare to Black Ops 3? And where, like, what is your gut telling you when it comes to the direction of BO6?
I mean, like, I think pitting it up against Shadows of Evil is like, it's kind of unfair against it, because I think, like, especially with Terminus being, you know, a direct sequel to what we saw at the end of Cold War. You know, we saw like the cutscene with Peck at the end, like where he was going to the island. So I think like having it be a direct sequel versus what, you know, at the time when Shadows of Evil came out, people didn't even know that it was going to be related really directly to Primus until, you know, the very end when Richthofen came and stole the summoning key. And so I think, like, with Shadows of Evil, you know, having like such a unique aesthetic, like unique guns, unique wonder weapon, unique crew, I think that it, like, will it live up to that? I obviously not, but I don't think that it even necessarily needs to, because I think, like, one of the things that really excites me is having Richthofen back as like the villain, like as the like the antagonist. Sure. I think that, like, as opposed to Richthofen trying to save the multiverse and do the right thing and stuff in Black Ops 3 and 4, having him, you know, be the director and be the one, you know, that got these guys locked up and that, you know, wants them dead. I think that right there is enough of like a really big seed that they, you know, can plant into the story, and hopefully over like the course of the DLC maps, they can grow that into a very nice story, which I'm very excited for. So I don't think that it would live up to Shadows of Evil, and I don't even think it necessarily needs to. I think that if they can, you know, carry over all the Black Ops Cold War fans and like the, you know, people that enjoy the story, and, you know, tweak it up for some of the people that might not, and you know, bring back like the set crew and you know, people that prefer the older way of the story being told, or the Easter eggs and stuff. I think that from what we've seen so far, I mean, I usually every year I jump on the COD Cope bandwagon, where I want it to be good. You know, I don't want COD to be bad. I don't think that really benefits anyone, but I think that from what we've seen, it seems like it'll be a very interesting map. Like, I think the aesthetic looks amazing, you know, and I think the story, like from what we've seen, has a very good chance of being something very interesting.
So, do you have well, let me try to try this question again, because I didn't mean, when I asked the question about Shadows of Evil, I didn't necessarily mean like, unless I said, I don't know, now I'm doubting myself, but I don't think I meant like, will it live up to the heights of Shadows of Evil? I know that there was a weird trajectory that, well, not weird, it was a great trajectory that Zombies was on from World at War up through BO3. It was just like kept going and going and going and going. But what I mean is, like, do you think that element of intrigue and mystery that comes from the aesthetic, the gameplay, the narrative, do you think that will come back, like kind of how it did in Shadows of Evil? And like, also in terms of BO3, we see things like Gobblegums, we see really good movement. Omni movement does look pretty good. We're seeing a lot of like good gameplay features. but I'm hoping that they mix those well with those narrative gameplay features, I guess you could call, like with the Easter eggs. And I think Black Ops 3 and Shadows of Evil did a really good job with that. So I'm hoping Terminus can live up to that standard. But obviously, I want it to define its own. I want it to be itself. I don't want Terminus to be like Horizon Drag or be like Shadows of Evil. I want it to be itself. But that being said, what do you think about the Easter egg? Where do you think Treyarch's going to take it? Are you an Easter egg lover? Do you care about Easter eggs like I do? I love them, so I'm just curious if you find them as exciting as I do.
I mean, I do. Like I would say that's my primary zombies play style, like as opposed to like high rounds or something. So I'm very much looking forward to the Easter egg. Like I think one thing that's very interesting is how they've got that guided mode where after the Easter egg gets solved, they're gonna have a guided mode, which to me kind of like, obviously the Easter eggs are gonna be like the Cold War Easter eggs where they're kind of more cut and dry, straightforward, like easy to follow Easter eggs, which I would expect. Obviously, you know, they want more players to be able to do the Easter egg and not, you know, look for a bird in 83 different spots, you know, around the map with a shield and stuff.
You're saying that you do think that they're going to be like that? I just want to clarify.
I think that they're not. Even though I like, as ridiculous as it is, I think that those Easter egg steps are hilarious, and like I like those Easter egg steps. Like, even though they're frustrating and like you basically need to like follow a guide to know them, like I think that's what makes it cool. Is that like once you do learn it yourself and you're able to like do it off of memory, like it's really cool to be able to, you know, run something complex like Blood of the Dead without a guide. Like that feels like an accomplishment to me. But I mean, that's not how everyone plays. And so I think having, like, if they do ham up the difficulty, however they may do it, I hope that they do it harder than Cold War. And I think they've kind of talked a little bit about like seeing how people reacted to like the shift in difficulty from, you know, Black Ops 4 to Cold War with like Easter eggs like D Machine and Firebase Z, you know, where people were able to find it without a guide, which
it was solved in like 3-4 hours, most of them.
Yeah. Like, well, when Firebase Z came out, me and a couple of my friends, we played it and we solved it ourselves without like a guide or anything, which was a cool moment, but like that was the only time I ever did it. Like after playing it, I didn't feel like it was something that I wanted to like run back, but like something like Alpha Omega, like just how ridiculous the Easter egg is, like that to me feels more like something that like you want to run back and try and get on like a low round or do quick or something like that. And so I think that maybe hopefully they'll try and find the sweet spot between something advanced, or not advanced, but like confusing and like BO4 Easter eggs, and something very easy like a Cold War Easter egg. But just like the fact that they have the guided thing makes me think that like there's not going to be anything super crazy like hidden, because like if they were to do that, then I think the guide just wouldn't make sense. Like if it's like they're not going to do like the Revelations rock shooting type thing.
Yeah, they said that in they literally did say that to content creators. I don't know if you are aware of that.
Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing. I have a couple of hot takes. Most people probably disagree with me. That's okay. I personally like guides. I like it when Mr. Raffle Waffles or Glitch or whomever, Jolts, makes a guide, because A, I like interacting with the community, and B, I like watching the YouTube videos, and I like hard Easter eggs. So to me, when we take the ability for creators to make content about a game, I think it actually is debilitating to the community, because now there's no need to dive in, interact with other players, find people online to play with. There's no need to do anything than just sit and have an easy, simplistic gameplay session by yourself. There's no need for community. It's all just you can do it alone. And I think that it's very detrimental. Now, do I think we need to have rock steps like in Revelations? I know that's like the most cliche example, but no, I think that one's a little bit weird. Especially since like one of those rocks was in the chicken coop you can't even see it. I actually have no idea where I'm shooting. I just shoot in there and hope for the best. I still don't even know. But I think with Cold War, where they went too far is, and I'm sorry for the people who have seen me talk about this before. It's it was death by 1,000 paper cuts. It's like everything in Cold War was just a little bit the knob was just turned a little bit to the easy side. And when everything in the game has the knob turned a little bit to the easy side, it compounds and then everything feels super easy. And not only were the Easter eggs super simple to solve, not only did they like point you in the direction of where items were and things like that in a very blatant way that hadn't really been done before. The boss fights were always super duper easy and really tuned to the casual. And I know there's arguments to be made about Legion and Valentina, but I'm pretty sure Treyarch tuned those boss fights down because people thought they were too hard. It's like, guys, it's been one day. Let's just try to get used to it a little bit here. And overall, I don't think games should be catered to the casual. I think there can be elements to games that are catered to casuals, but not every game is made for every community. And I learned this when I started playing Diablo 4 when it came out last year, and I was going through it and I noticed that the hardcore community was really pissed, but I was having a good time. And I was like, this is zombies. I'm experiencing it from just the other end. And the thing is, all the hardcore players that were making complaints about the game being boring and easy and simplistic, and it didn't have like the metas that they used to, and the grind was different and all these elements, it was the same stuff that the zombies community was saying. And the whole time I kept thinking, yeah, I don't care if it's catered to me though. Like, I'm having fun, but these are the people that actually love the game. I'm not going to play it nearly as much as them. And I can try to learn if I want to spend some time. And I'm glad there's a little bit of a low bar to entry just so I can have a little bit of fun. But I've never gotten a character to level 100. I've never grinded out the best, for the best gear. Like, I don't care about that. So they're catering to an audience that isn't even going to invest the same amount of time and resources into the game as the hardcore community. And I think that's a big mistake. And like, I knew a person who was in my community a couple of years ago who messaged me and they were like, I can't do the Firebase Z Easter egg solo. And I was like, how? It's so freaking easy. And he's like, I keep dying at the mimic step. And I was like, bro, it's not that hard. So people who are quote unquote casual are still having trouble with these super easy Easter eggs anyway. And then something else that I call, and then I'll shut up after this, I promise. Something else that I was talking about when D Machina launched was the devs were saying they saw an uptick in Easter egg completions, but it was still a really small percentage. And I was like, so they did all this work, renovating the Easter egg main quest just so they could get like a 3% increase in Easter egg completions or something. It was not that high. And then turns out they said to the content creators that they still weren't seeing a high completion rate for Easter eggs, which means that the only people who are really doing them are the hardcore fans. And I think on YouTube, people like a lot of people will watch them. It's like watching sports. I don't want to play football, but I'll watch the NFL. It's the same kind of thing. I think people like watching gamers who are really good at games do crazy shit that they can't do. And I'm fine with having Pack-a-Punch be easy to get. I'm fine with having certain base mechanics be easy to get. But the element of discovery and mystery, I think that should have a little bit of depth to it, a little bit of challenge, a little bit of difficulty. And I'm hoping that Treyarch realized that and says, hey, if you want to come along for the ride, we'll hold your hand and show you how to do it. But listen, it's not going to be easy. So here's the guided mode. But for the next one, hopefully you'll take the initiative to try and join the hardcore community. That's what I hope they're going to do. I spoke a lot. I'm going to shut up. Do you have any comments, questions, or concerns?
Yeah, I think like what you said about Diablo, where you were kind of on the opposite side, where you were just hopping onto Diablo, having fun. Like I also played Diablo 4 a little bit, and like it was fun. Like it definitely, like I played Diablo 3 a bit too, and so it did feel a little dumbed down compared to it, which for like you said, the hardcore community, obviously they're not going to like that as much. But I think one of the reasons um that they did that, I guess, is like Diablo's been on the downward spiral for a long time, especially after like Diablo Immortal and all the fallout from that. And so I think kind of what they did, or at least what it seems like they did to me, is like to lower the bar for entry to get more people playing the game, or even just buying the game for money or whatever. And I think that kind of applies to zombies, especially when you bring in like the whole way that cross progression works, and like blueprints and camos, tying into multiplayer and Warzone. And so I feel like what they thought, or what they decided to do, probably was like, we don't want to have Warzone and multiplayer be very accessible for basically any players, but then have zombies be like it was in BO3 and BO4, where you can hop in, you can maybe turn on Pack-a-Punch if you kind of know what to do or whatever, but you can't do the Easter egg. They want the people that are playing Warzone, that are playing multiplayer, they want them to go on zombies as well and be able to do whatever, and like increase the player base on all their modes, which like I can understand from like a developer standpoint why they would want to do that. But like you said, like it definitely does push out the more hardcore community. But I think like, especially nowadays with the way that game development is, where it's all about the bottom line and how much money you can make versus bringing an actual like unique experience to your players, they are willing to dumb down the game and make it super accessible for the sake of just having the most amount of players able to engage with it in a way that they're going to find meaningful and not be filtered by it. Because especially with what they saw during Black Ops 4, like the hatred from the community, and especially from YouTubers, a lot of people still rag on YouTubers for ruining BO4 with the negative perception and stuff. And I think that even might kind of lead into what you said with like guided Easter eggs and guided gameplay mechanics, where on D Machine there's no use for a Pack-a-Punch guide, a Pack-a-Punch tutorial, because it literally tells you everything to do. It shows you a little waypoint. So all those Pack-a-Punch guide videos, they're basically useless. No one's gonna, why would you bother watching it when the game is literally going to tell you what to do? And so I feel like Treyarch probably, I have no idea if they did it on purpose, but I can definitely see why they would want to have game mechanics be clearly described in their games, to kind of like cut down on, a YouTuber making a video and shitting on the game mechanics or something like that. But like you said, like that definitely, I would say, hurts the community, because then, you don't have like someone making a guide and someone just being able to look up a guide for this so that they can figure out how to open Pack-a-Punch. But like on the other end, they don't even need to. Like, it's not like they're confused and they don't know what to do. It's like the game just literally tells them.
Yeah.
So to me, yeah, that I think that makes a game feel a lot different, because it feels so handholdy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And like I fully understand why they do it, or why they've done it, or why they'll continue doing it. But like, to me, that doesn't feel like zombies. Like, it feels like a campaign mission. It feels like Nightmares from BO3 or something. Like, it feels like a campaign mission with a zombie skin.
Yeah, and I mean, even when Cold War launched, kind of like I was saying with that person I knew who couldn't beat Firebase Z, there's like a lot of people that, even though they have the handheldy elements in Cold War, they're still not doing the Easter eggs. I remember, like I said, I remember when it launched, and what's that dude's name? Courage JD, or like Tim the Tap Man or whatever. They would play
Right.
the game with other zombies YouTubers and make a video about it, and the zombies YouTuber was just leading them through the Easter egg. So I still feel like there's always that one dude who is just the more hardcore zombies fan leading the friends through the egg, because the Warzone streamers, they don't want to waste their brain power. You only have so much energy in a day. They're not going to waste it learning an Easter egg. So they're never going to do it again. So I really still think that just lowering that bar of the Easter egg element is a bad decision. But for Pack-a-Punch, I don't really care. In Horizon Drac, which is one of the best maps ever, you hit square twice. Like, you hit square twice in Pack-a-Punch. On the third time you go up to it, it automatically turns on. So I really don't think it's a big deal to have simplistic Pack-a-Punch opening systems, and like basic gameplay systems. And I think Black Ops 6, is doing a really good job of that, because all the information that we've seen so far is all gameplay related. Like, we don't know anything about the Easter eggs, and I think that's why people are so vitriolic about it right now. There's a lot of tension in the community where it's like, oh, it's just Cold War Zombies 2.0, but it's like, yeah, but that's only because we've seen the gameplay stuff, and there's over 100 augments to unlock from all the perks, field upgrades, ammo mods, etc. There's so much stuff to unlock. There's prestige mode. There's 4 mastery camos to grind through. There's all the there's like the wonder weapons or wonder weapon in the, maybe there's more, I don't know. There's like a wonder weapon in the game. You can have all these 2 guns, a melee weapon. You can have your field upgrade. Like, there's so many ways to kill zombies and interact with the mode and grind for stuff. And I actually think, from a gameplay point of view, there's a fuckload of stuff to do, and I think that's a really, really good thing. There's going to be callings or challenges, daily challenges ready to go the day we start Black Ops 6. So everything that you need from like a fully ready to go launch is from a gameplay perspective is there, and I am so happy about that. It's just, okay, I'm glad we have all that, but what about the Easter egg stuff? And I think that's why people are a little concerned. And so I think they're going to satiate a lot of casuals with all this grinding shit. And I'm fine with that, because I don't mind grinding every now and then. But I don't think zombies should be just a grinding simulator. I think it should have that depth too. And honestly, I thought Modern Warfare Zombies initially at the beginning had a good amount of depth to it, but then it kind of fell off a cliff, which is a nice little segue into what zombies mode you hated the most. And you said MWZ and Vanguard, which I totally understand, but I'm curious, why do you hate MWZ? And are you scared, or scared's not the right word, but are you worried that any of those systems or mechanics are going to be bleeding over into Black Ops 6 in a negative way that, you don't really want to see?
Yeah, like, I would say that when MWZ first came out, I actually really liked it, because like we talked earlier, when I said like with a set crew, not having like those radio dialogues and an exfil, feels more like traditional Black Ops Zombies. I like, even before MWZ came out, I've always thought about like what a Modern Warfare Zombies would look like. And I think, especially with like Modern Warfare military style zombies or something, that seems like the perfect type of zombies to have an exfil system, and somebody on the radio keeping in contact with you, and like all this stuff from Cold War seems like it could work perfectly with Modern Warfare Zombies. But what really turned me off of Modern Warfare Zombies was the fact that they made it Escape from Tarkov with the gear system, and going into the map and then exfilling with your gear, and then like having it for the next game. Like, I'm not a Tarkov player. I'm not a Tarkov fan. I've tried the game before. It's not my kind of game. So that was a big killer for me, and I really did not like that. But like, I think that some of the stuff I also didn't like about it was just like having such a bland, uninspired map. Like it was just a Warzone map, basically. Like it didn't feel like it was a zombies map at all. It was just like we dropped you into what could be like just a season 2 Warzone map. Like it's just whatever, Urzikstan or whatever the heck they called it. And then it's just like you just go around doing little quests and stuff with no real like goal. Like it's just kind of drop in, do whatever you can to get loot against the clock, and then leave. And like I can understand like and appreciate that like being different from like a traditional round base, like between Black Ops and Modern Warfare, but it's not my kind of game, and I would really hate to see kind of just like I mean anything from Modern Warfare Zombies be brought into like Black Ops, like especially like the story. Like that's one of the things that worries me about the story. As much as I want to be like optimistic about the story, the idea that like Modern Warfare Zombies happens after Black Ops 6 Zombies like kind of terrifies me, because like how are they going to work that?
Well, Vanguard Zombies happens before Black Ops 6 Zombies, and that terrifies me that they're going to bring the chaos story into this somehow. Because I don't know why that would ever happen in a million years, but it's happening for some reason. But there are two things from MWZ that I did like, that I would be okay with seeing inside of BO6, and that was the difficulty for MWZ was actually pretty. I think it was pretty challenging. It felt fast paced. It felt like, you know, there. It felt like you could die pretty quickly if you weren't prepared. Whereas in Cold War, you just keep building self revives until your heart's content or you run out of salvage. And
Right.
and MWZ had a really nice difficulty curve, and you could really feel that fast-paced, like challenging nature of zombies inside of tier 3, and then especially inside of the Dark Aether, like highest end rifts, where tier 5, I guess you could call it, or whatever. And I did really like that. And I also liked how they handled the abominations in that mode. I thought it was clever. But more importantly, the boss fight system was super interesting. It was like a raid or an event boss in Diablo or something, and I just really enjoyed it, and I hope they don't shy away from having epic bosses like they did in MWZ. And I know we just saw the worm like 7,000 times, but it was still cool. It was still clever. And really the main problem with MWZ was just, developer resources and stuff like that. But my biggest concern from the MWZ going over to BO6, and we'll just touch on Liberty Falls here for a second. You've seen the Liberty Falls teaser, I presume?
Yeah.
Well, what did we see at the very end? We saw the Dark Aether purple bullshit. And listen, I don't hate the Dark Aether. I don't hate it itself, but it was in D Machine. It was in Outbreak with all those like holdout missions. It was in Forsaken. It was in every MWZ secret location that you would like, those rifts. And it's like, I'm so tired of the purple skyboxes and the purple crystals. And it's like, I am fine with going to the Dark Aether. That's not a problem. Going to like a demonic land, I don't care about that. But like, doesn't the Dark Aether do other things? Like, can it morph and change the aesthetic of other locations inside of itself? Does it always have to be purple? Does it always have to have the crystals? Like, I just hope that they give us a little bit more variety, because when I saw that Liberty Falls trailer and I'm like, oh, this is going to be sick. And I bet you there's going to be like more to the map and there's going to be some secret areas. I think Liberty Falls is going to be a sleeper hit personally, but they showed buried or transit or whatever. Like, in the Dark Aether, and I'm like, dude, can we just do another area besides that? So, do you feel the same way about that, or are you a Dark Aether purple aesthetic fan?
I mean, I honestly, I have not liked it ever since Steam Machine. Like it's I don't know. Like it's kind of like, to me it seems like the only thing that I like can liken it to is like, it seems like the Upside Down from like Stranger Things,
Dude,
where it's like,
that's what
oh,
I said.
this is the creepy version
Yes.
of wherever you are at this current moment. And it's like, okay, well, that's pretty uninspired, I guess. And then in Modern Warfare Zombies, it was like bam, bam, bam. Every season, it's like new unstable rift, whatever, rift portal, rift this, rift
I
that,
know.
and it's like, really, like that's all that you guys got. And like just to go back to the point that you said about like the epic raid bosses, one of the things that I actually really did like about Modern Warfare Zombies, and like this wouldn't be in Black Ops 6 or anything, but the whole like merging groups, like finding another group on the map and like merging into a big group. Like I would really like to see um more than like a 8-player zombies. Somehow in like Black Ops 6 or something, if they did um like an 8-player map or something like that, where like, I think that would be a great time to do it with like the set crew of like the 4 that we got, plus like Raptor 1 and like Maya's brother and like whoever else we might be meeting. Like I think if they could really do something if they do like 8-player. But that's off topic. Um Relating to the Dark Aether thing, yeah, it is, to me, it is so uninspired. It's ridiculous. Like they go all the way to like craft like this beautiful map, and then they're just like, yeah, and then there's also the creepy version when you go in the Dark Aether. Like it just seems, to me, it seems pointless. Like I get what the Dark Aether is supposed to be and stuff, but like I don't think that going into the same purple creepy area, like I just don't think it brings anything to the map or the aesthetic or anything. So yeah, I like at the end when it showed like that upside down church or something. Like I hope that that's just like you go through a portal to go there or something. Because if I'm running through like the crystal filled area and like that's the only time you can go to like the church or something, then yeah, that's not going to be that cool.
Yeah, the Dark Aether needs to do something else. Like even in Vanguard, it was a little different. It was like all that red area, and don't get me wrong, I hated the way that looked because I just didn't prefer the art style, not the color palette, but just like the way I just didn't like the way the shit looked. I don't know, it was weird, but at least they tried something different. But anyway, I don't want to spend a lot of time on that because we could talk about how purple's my favorite color too. So it's like how are they if I hate it, if the guy who loves purple hates the Dark Aether, then I think they have a problem. But so after, I know we have a long road ahead, so it's not like this is a particularly insightful question, but I ask in the questionnaire, who do you think the worst COD Zombies developer is? And then I also asked what your craziest or hottest take was. And so for the worst Zombies developer, you said Sledgehammer. And then for your craziest or hottest take about COD Zombies, you stated that Infinite Warfare is the second best zombies game out of all zombies. So polar ends of the spectrum here with my question that I'm about to pose. After BO6 concludes, and then, we get COD 2025, which reportedly is like a Black Ops 2 reboot or something along the lines. And let's just say we get another Treyarch Zombies year. After that, we're going into hypothetical land. Do you ever want to see another developer take a stab at Call of Duty Zombies? Because we have seen the candle burning at both ends here, where it's been amazing with Infinite Warfare, and then we've seen Sledgehammer also take a stab at it, and it's been pretty mixed bag from World War II to AW Zombies. And they just are spending all this time and resources, and it's just so much effort to make a mode that sometimes just doesn't land with the community at all. So what would you like to see, if you could have your dream studio outside of Treyarch make it? Or would you not even want that?
I think one of the things that made Infinite Warfare so good is like the not only the timing, but also like the people that were working on it. Like, if like when you see how much passion Lee Ross and like his team had for zombies and for like their unique take on it, because like after Black Ops 3, like Black Ops 3 was undeniably the peak of zombies in terms of um popularity. Like you could argue that like some people could argue that Black Ops 4 might be better. I don't know how many people would argue that, but I think a lot of people argue that Black Ops 3 was the peak of zombies. And so I think right after that, you know, coming hot off of like Revelations, like obviously they had Infinite Warfare Zombies in development for a lot longer while they were making it, but they knew, you know, before Black Ops 3 even came out that like, you know, zombies is huge with Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2, and like they had seen, you know, studios fail like Advanced Warfare, like Exo Zombies, like what it looks like when they kind of just try to make a zombies mode. And so like you can really tell where a lot of like the love and effort was put into something like Infinite Warfare Zombies. But even then, you can see kind of where it falters, where, you know, budget cuts kind of hit it and stuff. Like even though I love that mode, like there are so many things wrong with it that you can tell were from like not enough budget or not enough time, and just like stuff that you see in Black Ops 3.
What are some of those things, if you don't mind sharing?
Like facial animations is one. There's no facial animations, which is disgusting. A lot of like the
like on what? Like on the characters?
On all the characters. There's no facial animations. They don't blink. Like they don't like their mouths never move. Like it's creepy.
I never
and that's like
noticed that.
Yeah, that's something that obviously is just kind of like a time thing. Obviously, it's not something huge, but like there's a lot of weird bugs in the game that like I feel like could have just easily been QA'd out. There's like the way some of the perks work seems like kind of off. Like director's cut even kind of like they said that they were going to add like the new perks to all the maps in director's cut, but they never did.
Yeah, I remember that.
And just a lot of other things about like the gameplay. Like there's just like weird decisions that you think like wasn't something that was in Black Ops 3. And I think like even though I do like it and it has its shortcomings, the reason that it's so good in my opinion is because of where Zombies was at its time, like at that time, and how much effort the developers put into it. But as time's gone on, like the interest in Zombies has slowly dwindled down to the point where even though there's still a dedicated Zombies like community, their like inclusion of zombies feels more like it's just to include zombies as opposed to wanting to make a zombies mode. Like you cannot convince me that Call of Duty Zombies like Vanguard was like a passionate mode that like really had a lot of like love put into it, especially like when the last map was just tinted green. Like that kind of felt like, hey guys, we need to get a zombies mode in here. And that's kind of what they did. They just put a zombies mode into this game to have a zombies mode. And I feel like in the future, I don't know if there's another studio that would care enough to put that much effort into a new zombies mode, unless Black Ops 6 were to like really reinvigorate zombies and then COD 2025 keeps it up. Then maybe the next year they would be like, let's really give like another try at a zombies mode. So personally, I think going forward, Treyarch should be the only ones doing zombies.
So you would be fine with like BO6 2 years off, BO7 2 years off. Like you'd be fine with that.
Well, I mean, I think that the COD games should get at least like a year or two. Like I think it's ridiculous to even have a Call of Duty come out year after year after year. Because I think like there's so much more they could do just by giving every game a second year in terms of like patching the game, balancing things, adding more maps. Like zombies could benefit so well from like a second year. And I think if like BO7 were to have a second year where they kept releasing maps, that would not only give the next developer time to work on their game, which wouldn't have zombies, but it would give Treyarch enough time to add enough content to keep them satiated until like the next Treyarch game that has zombies. So I think I would totally be fine with taking a few years off to keep playing them, because I still play Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3. So yeah, I have no problem playing old games while waiting for the new ones.
Yeah, I don't personally have a problem waiting either. My problem with the cycle isn't that there's a new game every year. My problem is that if I don't like a game, I'm happy there's another one on the horizon. Like I don't like Modern Warfare 2. I didn't like Modern Warfare 2019 at all. I don't like I didn't like Vanguard. I didn't like MW3 was kind of a mixed bag, but overall I don't like those games. So it's like for me, I'm basically waiting three years every year or every that doesn't mathematically track. You know what I mean? I'm waiting 3 years every game because I'm just Treyarch's the only dev I care about. You know, I only care when Treyarch's in the driver's seat. So I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree. And I would love for them to be more for them to develop more, spend more time developing stuff. But like, you know, I think about Cold War, and it's like, oh my gosh, if that was a game they spent like 3 years developing on, oh, I would not like that, because then we'd be stuck with those gameplay systems. And so hopefully Black Ops 6 is a engine and an experience that's good enough where maybe we will get a year or two. Maybe we will get like not a Zombies Chronicles 2, but like, I don't know, some sort of post content cycle drop like Zombie Chronicles, where they maybe release like a special extra map that we weren't expecting. Yeah, I don't know if I would like to see other developers make it though. I think Sledgehammer has the most creative like freedom when it comes to trying stuff, so I have a feeling they might do it again. But Infinite Warfare, those developers, like I don't even think most of them are there anymore, so I don't know if I would be okay with Infinity Ward doing zombies, because I think they would just fuck it up so bad. But maybe not. Well, do you have any final thoughts on that, or so we have one last question and then we'll wrap up here?
I would just say like one of like what you said, where you wait 3 years every game. I think there's so many games coming out just in general.
Yeah.
That I still really think that like COD should not come out every year. I think that like with Black Ops 3, where they released Zombies Chronicles, like I think if they were to come out every year, I think that the last game still having new content while the new game is out, obviously it's kind of, you know, probably going to negatively affect the new game, but like I don't want these COD games to just have content for 1 year and then that just be it.
It sucks.
I think there's so much more you can do, especially when you have a good game. Like there's just so much more you can do. And I think that if you don't like it, which is understandable, like there is such a huge backlog of COD games that you could play instead. Or like personally, like I didn't really like Modern Warfare 3. It didn't like I enjoyed the Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer. That was about it. But like usually when I don't like a COD game, I just play, you know, something else that year, or like something else around then. So it's, to me, it's never been like, damn it, like I gotta wait for the next COD. It's like, oh well, this one sucks. I guess hopefully the next one's better. But like I think that would probably happen less if the games had extra time to really refine them. Like, and especially BO4 is one of them, because like I think that BO4 has such a good like skeleton deep down, but it's covered in so much just like issues and ugly like issues, and that if they would have had like a second year to really like polish it, then it could have been something so much better. But now because they didn't, they never will, and so it's forever stuck, in limbo, like being like having so much potential after BO3, but it kind of being like squandered. So
Have you ever played BO4 on PC?
I only played on PC.
Okay. All right. Good. It plays much better on PC than it does on console, but conversation for another day. Well, I think this last question actually ties nicely into kind of what we were talking about. The last question I asked is, what do you think about BO6 Zombies based on the information we have? I sent you these to you, I think, before the launch of the trailer or anything. So
right, yeah.
I'm assuming your answer is still the same pretty much. So feel free to make any changes to it. But basically you said, I'm optimistic, but the whole Warzone COD HQ integration has me very worried about the legacy of the game after its year is over. So you just kind of were answering to some of the, post, I wish COD was more than just an annual release and all that good stuff. Do you want to extrapolate on this a little bit more?
Yeah, like, this is kind of a weird game to bring up, but do you remember the COD Online, like the Chinese only?
Yeah, I remember
COD
that.
Online.
Yeah, I remember
that to me is like what COD HQ should be if it were good. Like the idea that like they would update a game, like consistently update a game, like, and not release a new one every year, I think is very appealing to me, because I think like they could have something really good with BO6, and then just dropping it to release, and it's even weirder with COD 2025, because they're going to be double releasing games with this like Black Ops 2 sequel or whatever it's supposed to be. I think that if instead of like doing that, like maybe they'd have that as like a Modern Warfare remastered type thing, but focused on like more content for their main game. Like I think that every COD game forward would just have so much more potential from actually like dedicating another year to it, because like there's just so much wrong with the game in the first year, just with the game itself, like whether it be like hackers, bugs, like balancing issues and stuff. If they get that all like nailed down in the first year, and then just dedicate the next one to just making like side content, I think you can really like buff out like a game's like potential to just be replayable. But I guess that's not really what they even want, because they want to just sell cosmetics. So why would they even bother?
I mean, COD could literally just stop calling their full releases, and they could call them expansions, and they could still sell them for $70. Like, I don't understand. I mean, not that I want them to. I'm just saying this new Diablo expansion is $50, I think. So it's giving the implication that it's not a full game, and that's okay. But if COD is going to sell a full game, they could still call it an expansion and kind of do what you're saying, where they have this like giant HQ where they're just kind of updating it constantly, adding everything. It's a hodgepodge. But I also think that could lead to like an element of no identity. And I like when the CODs felt distinct from one another. That's why I really like Treyarch, and the fact that Infinity Ward has been pushing all of the studios to use this one engine to have this COD HQ nonsense. That Warzone has been bleeding into all of the other modes. I find that to be very disruptive to the somewhat individualistic nature of each COD studio.
Yeah, like I definitely agree, and that's kind of like kind of where I was going with it too, because like especially with these last few games, they feel like they're on the exact same engine, and like with the class system, with the whole gunsmith thing, it seems like, not even seems, it basically is like they have the class system set up in the way that they do so that it's easily swappable to Warzone. And you've got like Warzone integration with this, like all the guns work the same way they do, all the attachments are the same. It seems like they want to do like a one massive amalgamation of a COD game, especially with like you said, with losing their identity. They're adding like, you know, Borderlands style animated skins and anime skins and Nicki Minaj and you know, like Snoop Dogg and like athletes and YouTubers and stuff, or streamers or whatever. Like they are going for like the Fortnite of it, but they're too scared to like fully go for it. And so they're still releasing, like you said, like the $70 expansions, which at this point they are expansions, because Black Ops 6 is not even its own game.
Yeah.
It's a DLC for this Call of Duty game. And like on Steam, it's almost like misleading. It kind of seems like it would be one big game, but really they're making you install a different game as a DLC.
Yeah.
But then just tying it to Warzone. So I think that like if they really wanted to, they could fix these issues and strike like a very good balance. If they had like a dedicated campaign, a dedicated multiplayer for that expansion, a dedicated zombies, and then had like a combined multiplayer version that just had all the guns and all the maps and stuff for the people that just want to play this big crazy game. Like I think that they're basically like all the games feel like they're on the same engine. And like with this Omni movement thing, like from what I've seen in the gameplay, it looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love the idea of being able to dodge and slide or whatever in all directions and sprint backwards and all this stuff. And like if they really nail down the feel of the guns and of the movement and of like just the engine in general, then now would be like the best time to just say, fuck it, let's go one engine for every game, and then just do like one Call of Duty game and not release it year after year. Because if they just focus on one game, one engine, they could really refine it and just release like themed expansions. Like now we're going to do an Advanced Warfare 2 expansion with a story and Exo Zombies and its own dedicated multiplayer mode on its own playlist with weapons and stuff, and then still have like a massive Warzone with all these guns and like a massive multiplayer with all these guns. Like it just seems like that is such a better way to go at it than releasing these like weirdly segmented but tied in games.
Yeah. As long as they stick it with Treyarch's engine, I'm totally fine with that. Because I hate Infinity Ward's engine. I don't like Sledgehammers as of late. So as long as they can stick with whatever Treyarch's doing and make that the foundation, I am fine with them evolving it however they want, assuming everything's good to go. Well, Sharib, we're reaching the end here. So before we say our goodbyes, I just have a quick lightning round questions, just a quick like one word response for these questions. So I have 4 of them. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Perk limit or no perk limit?
Perk limit.
Shield or armor?
Shield.
Double tap or weapon rarity?
Double tap.
What's your favorite consumable system from Infinite Warfare or from BO3 through I guess MWZ, I guess, really. But what's your favorite consumable system?
The tickets from Spaceland.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. I did mean like Fate and Fortune cards or like gobblegums and shit, but like
that kind of consumable. Okay. I mean, I like Fate and Fortune cards.
Okay. All right. Great answers. Okay. Well, I appreciate you hanging out with me for a little while today. I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on, and I'll see you in the next one, people.